Welcome to the Collecting Data Using Sarah App video. This video covers how to use the Stream and Rivers Assessment Hub, or Sarah app, which is used to collect all Aquatic AIM data. This video discusses the basic functionality of Sarah along with the best data entry practices. For more information, including troubleshooting the app, consult the Data Management and Sarah protocol. The Sarah app is a FileMaker application. To open Sarah, first open FileMaker Go application and then select the Sarah folder from the Device tab. This will then open the app to the main menu. The Sarah home screen contains several options that are used to collect and manage data. Options are listed in the general order that they are used. The Collect Data button opens a new site, while the View/Edit Previous button returns to a pre-existing site so that data can be viewed or edited. Collected data can be backed up at any time by uploading it to the National AIM team using the Upload Data via Wi-Fi button. The View Site Summaries and Photos buttons allows each site to be reviewed in pre-submission meetings between crews and project managers. These meetings will happen after each field trip and must be completed before final data is submitted using the View Upload Status and Confirm Final Data button. This video covers the first two buttons of Sarah, the Collect Data function and the View/Edit Previous buttons. The first screen that appears within the Collect Data function is the Add or Remove Contingent Indicators screen. Aquatic AIM sampling is broken up into core, covariate, and contingent indicators. Core and covariate indicators are collected at every randomly selected AIM site the first time it is sampled, while contingent indicators are only collected at certain sites. The appropriate indicators are selected for a given site using the Yes bubbles on this screen based on the indicators listed in the Design Management spreadsheet. Sarah also has 3 pre-programmed modifications that can be selected. The Alaska modifications apply to all Alaska sites. More bank stability plots allows more bank data to be collected, and the Subset of Core Indicators option applies to special circumstances where only a few of the core indicators need to be collected. Once this page has been moved past, it cannot be accessed again, so if a mistake is made, the site must be restarted. Once indicators are selected, the next screen in the Collect Data function is the verification page. The verification page is the first thing users fill out when they reach a site. On this page, users can fill out the project they are working under and the site code of the stream they are sampling from a list under each dropdown. The stream name and date will auto-populate when the site code is selected. If the user does not see the site code of the stream they are sampling, they can add the code to the list by selecting the Add button and filling out the site ID, stream name, and project for the new site. Next, the site status and site designation fields can be filled out, followed by whether the point coordinates were moved and the latitude and longitude of the point coordinates. To get the latitude and longitude, the Earth icon can be highlighted and Sarah will auto-populate the coordinates using the iPad's GPS function. The iPad's Wi-Fi must be turned on for this to work, but it doesn't need to be connected to a network. Then, the user can add their names by selecting the Edit Values option in the drop-down. Once the names are added, they will be available in the drop-down in the future in the Sarah app. Finally, if the site is sampleable, the button to collect the initial bankflow width measurements will appear. To enter bankflow widths, the user must push the Add Bankflow Width Stations button and 5 fields will appear under bankflow width. Once these measurements are taken, Sarah will automatically do the math to calculate the reach length and transect spacing. At the bottom of the verification page, there is an arrow to pan over to the Comments page by pressing on the black arrow. Users should use this page to make any pertinent sampling and access comments. There are also areas to select the weather conditions and whether the reach contained any signs of beaver activity or water withdrawals. The verification page can be visited as often as needed during sampling. Once the verification page is filled out, The other pages along the top of the screen can be viewed. These pages represent the different types of data that will be collected throughout the reach. Data collection is organized into 7 pages that can be selected in the top bar. The page that is currently being viewed is highlighted in blue. Aquatic AIM data are collected in a series of passes throughout a reach, and the pages are organized to facilitate the most common workflow. Water quality and bugs are always collected on the first pass. It is then common to collect all transect data in one pass. Flood-prone width and slope during another pass, and large woody debris and pools as the last pass. In general, each page should be filled out fully before jumping to the next one. However, some flexibility exists in workflow. Photos can be taken at any time during data collection using the Photos page. All photos should be taken using the SARA application so that photos are automatically named and sent to the National AIM team with the rest of the data. Select Tap to take photo, then select Camera to open the iPad camera. Photos can also be taken and drawn on using the Photos application in the iPad. These photos can then be uploaded into the app using the Photos option. Within the Transects page, data collection is also organized by workflow options. When the Transects page is selected, it will give 3 workflow options: collect all data, collect only physical habitat data, or collect only visuals. The user can select the option that allows for the most efficient workflow for a site depending on how difficult it is to walk up and down the reach and the number of people collecting data. Once a workflow option is selected, data can be entered in any order, and pressing the Enter or Next button will automatically direct users to the next logical field on the screen. Users can move around freely among fields and subpages for a given transect. Subpages include the bank, canopy, and substrate, which are physical habitat indicators, and the vegetation and human cover pages, which are visual assessments. Transect buttons on the left-hand side of the screen can be used to move between main transects or intermediate transects. However, if the user is collecting the THAWAG contingent indicator, then mid-transect buttons no longer appear next to main transects and are instead accessed in the THAWAG subpage within the Transects page. Side channel transects are accessed on the bank subpage. Once the information on the bank page is filled out in the side channel section, the Collect Data option can be selected, and SARA will open up the side channel data pages. Within each page, SARA contains many checks to ensure that collected data are complete and accurate. For example, SARA contains missing data checks that notify the user if they move on to another transect before completing data collection at that transect. The current page can either be revisited to fill in data, or the user can move on to the next page, and missing data fields are highlighted in red. Users should return to fill in any missing data. If the data cannot be collected, flag the missing measurement with the N, which stands for Not Collected flag, and provide a comment. If an entire transect of data is not collected, the Flag Not Collected button on the bank submenu will populate this flag for all fields at that transect. Prior to flagging a measurement as not collected, data collectors should attempt to estimate measurements. If the field is estimated, an E flag should be used with an associated comment. For example, a transect may be inaccessible because of extremely dense, thorny vegetation, so some measurements, such as bankful height, may not be able to be collected. However, densiometer measurements can likely be estimated as 17, indicating that there is 100% overhead canopy cover. To prevent users from skipping monotonous fields and to save time in the field, SARA also has various auto-population features. For example, on the large woody debris page, the Note Pieces within Bankful button will populate zeros for all size classes of wood at that transect. The values can still be changed for each measurement by clicking the plus button. If a different value other than 0 is already filled in for a size class, this will not change the value that was previously entered. There are many similar buttons for other indicators. In addition to missing data checks and automation, Sarah also has checks on the range of values entered. Legal checks will not let data collection proceed until the current value is fixed. This is applied to data that can only be a certain range of values, such as pH. For example, if 15 is entered into the pH field, Sarah will display a dialog box stating that pH can only be between 0 and 14 and that a value in this range must be entered. Sarah will not let any other action be done in the app until this value is fixed. Typical value checks warn the user if values are possible but unlikely. For example, if a pH of 5.5 is entered, which is possible but rarely collected, Sarah will display a dialog box asking for the user to verify this value. If the user is sure this value is correct, comments should be made using the C flag next to the value in question. C stands for custom comment. Additionally, this specific example of water quality, the YSI should be recalibrated and the measurement retaken to double-check the value. Certain fields also have rules placed on them by protocol constraints. These rules are cross-validation checks that are used to make sure that those entering data are using the protocol correctly. For example, the bankful height can never be higher than floodplain height. If bankful height is entered as higher than floodplain height, Sarah will not let any other values be entered until this is corrected. The Aquatic AIM protocol places minimum requirements on the number of transect data and indicators collected. However, users have the flexibility to exit data collection for a site at any time, even if data is not complete, by clicking the Water Drop Main Menu button in the upper left-hand corner, and then clicking Main Menu in the dialog box. For example, this may occur if data collection occurs over the course of 2 days. However, prior to exiting the site, slope and pools must be recorded with whether they were collected or not. After exiting a site, a message will appear notifying the user that a copy of the data has been saved and exported to the iPad in the format of an XML and CSV. Users can return to data collection after exiting by using the Review and Edit Data button on the Sarah homepage. On this screen, the project and either the date, the site code, or stream name, or all three can be entered to search for the data that Sarah has stored in the app. Sarah will then give the number of records it has matching to the search, and the desired site can be selected by pressing the Review and Edit Data button at the bottom of the screen. Sarah will then open the site and data collection can resume. Once data collection is complete, users should select the main menu icon again. The Finish Site button will run the final QA check. This final QA check will flag any fields that are still missing at the end of data collection and are not appropriately marked as not collected. It will also flag outliers for certain fields. For any outliers, users should try to recall if there is anything unusual about the measurements at those transects. The user should remeasure, omit, or flag the value if they do not feel confident in the measurement. Hyperlinks can be used to return to specific fields to resolve any issues. After resolving issues, the final QA/QC page can be accessed again by pressing the Return to QA button in the top right-hand corner of the screen. When the user feels the data were collected accurately and completely, the main menu icon in the top left-hand corner should be selected again. Sarah will ask for reasons why there are any QA violations, along with the initials of the lead data collector. Sarah will then store the final QA check and export another copy of the data to the iPad in the format of an XML and a CSV to the iPad, and then return to the home screen. Until data is submitted as final, data can still be viewed and edited using the View Edit Previous button. This concludes the video on how to collect data using the SARA app. Remember that the Data Management and SARA protocol also contains more specifics on topics covered in this video. To learn more about the other functions of SARA and how to backup and submit data, watch the Data Backup and Submission video. To learn how to download SARA and set it up for the field, see the Download and Update SARA video.